Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamora head coach Jared Grebner. Before we go, I'd like to thank Jake and Sarah Atkins for hosting the coaches show here at Germantown Grille. Coach, kind of another tough outing last Friday night over in Morton against the Morton Potters. Morton came out though and played awfully well. You don't want to take anything away from them.
Correct.
But I thought that now you've played 4 games, and now you're a little bit on the top-heavy side of your schedule. You played 4 of the toughest teams you're going to see. You're probably 1 or 2 more left, but you had 4 playoff teams right in a row, and that's a tough way to start the season.
No, but it's a good way to start the season because you find out right off the bat what we need to work on, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. It lets us know what we have to work on. And right off the bat, we know that we don't have any false senses or anything like that. And so it's a good measuring stick going into the year.
When you look at your team, you like you said, 2 tough games in a row. Is it difficult then to get the kids motivated for the next week? Because there's a lot of football left to be played.
Oh yeah. We were talking earlier off camera and talking about how, man, this is already week 5 and everything like that. But it goes fast, and so our kids realize that it goes fast. You're only guaranteed so many games.
9.
And so, we're right there. We're going to be over the halfway point right now. But after the 2 losses, our kids are competitors. Leaves a bad taste in their mouth, leaves a bad taste in all the coaches' mouths as well. And everybody just wants to get better, from the players to the coaches. After last week, we had a lot of things to clean up, a lot of things to work on, and the kids are honing in and focusing on what we need to do to improve.
I thought when you play probably the 2 toughest Middle Illini teams back to back, tough task to ask any team to do. But I thought you came off the Washington game and you probably had an idea of what you were going to be seeing. Washington with Darryl Crouch being there for so long, you had a good idea what that was all going to be about. Morton was a different story. New coach, Adam O'Neill, first-year coach at Morton, probably a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you see them on film. They've established on film, who they are and what they want to be, and they're a running team, and they showed that on Friday night that they can run the ball, and they'll get after you. They had some big guys up front, and they had a good running back that kept his legs churning, broke some tackles. That was one thing that we addressed in practice this week. But to actually see some of their schemes and how they block versus us and our defense versus some of the other teams when they might have a little bit different scheme is a little bit different. Same thing defensively for them. Sometimes you don't know how are they going to slant to our offense, and how are they going to make adjustments when we have a tight end, or whether we spread them out or whatever. And so you do learn some of those things, as the game goes on, and trying to make adjustments from there.
I thought that during the game a little bit. It seemed like some nights it's your night, some nights it just isn't. It seemed like there were times where we were just an eyelash away from breaking. Jadon had a couple where they just tripped him up. It was the last guy before he was ready to get outside and shift it into another gear, and they would just reach out and trip him up, and instead of a 65-yard touchdown run or a 70-yard touchdown run, he'd get 4 or 5 yards. It was just one of those nights where we just couldn't get going.
Yeah. Sometimes, it almost felt like you were stuck in the mud on both sides of the ball. They fly around to the ball, they get after it, and they were very aggressive defensively, and they flat backed and got off the ball offensively. And, there were some times where I thought, we were really close to making plays. Offensively, I thought, there's some opportunities for us where we were really close to, we call them money downs. Whether it's third down, we got to, be able to find a way to pick up that extra yard to get that next first down. And it was the same thing defensively. Defensively, I thought we had some opportunities to get off the field on third down, whether it was a penalty or whether it was them making a play, just falling, 1 yard over the yard markers and stuff like that. We just couldn't find that opportunity to get off the field, and we kind of lost the money down battle on Friday night.
The other thing too, though, is as frustrating as it was at times, I thought there were still some good things you did. I thought you hit some slants. Jadon had a nice big run. You had a slant to, I think, Connor Bidney that, he picked up some big yards and led to a touchdown. Jadon's long run led to a touchdown. So it wasn't like they completely shut you down. You still had some nice plays, some things to build on.
Yeah. You always have things to build on. You can show the highlights, to the kids to say, hey, if we execute, this is what can happen.
Right.
But we just have to be a little more consistent. We all know that as a team. We all understand that consistency is the key. A lot of the name of the game is effort and execution, and we just have to execute at a more consistent level.
I thought that, too, the other thing is the fact that you do have a few seniors on the team. You only have 16, but a lot of those kids are getting quality playing time. And even though they are seniors, some of them are being asked to really play and play a significant role for the first time as a varsity player.
Mm-hmm. And those guys have put in their time in the weight room in the off season, and so they've done a good job of working hard in the off season, and they're reaping the rewards on the field on Friday night. We have a lot of leaders there. Some of them, whether it's through vocally, whether it's quiet, and so this is their team, this is their year, and so they want to make sure that they make the most of it.
Yeah, you came out of the game relatively unscathed. Your son got a little injured,
Mm-hmm.
Still up in the air whether or not he's able to play Friday, but he's going to be fine.
Yep.
You got the clearance for Cam Nichols to play. He didn't play, which is fine too.
Mm-hmm.
Create some next man up.
Yep.
And it's nice though when you play these games with all of your bullets. And I thought Cam Nichols is a pretty vital part of your defense.
Yeah.
And wasn't able to play Friday, but it's nice to know that he'll be back this week.
Yep. It's always nice to, he was our leading tackler for the season. He's returning starter as a junior. He started as a sophomore for us, and he's starting to develop a feel for some of the windows as a linebacker. And so to get him back is always nice, but you have guys like Wes McNeil, that's a senior that stepped up and did a good job for us on Friday night. But just to have more guys at your disposal, is always nice. And so to get all your guys back, and like you said, to have everybody at your disposal, is always nice.
You're reaching the halfway point, like you just mentioned a few minutes ago. This is week 5 already, and you're starting to see teams kind of settle into where they are. Mm-hmm. I think maybe the question's still a little bit up in the air with Metamora, because I think you're a pretty good football team. You've played 2 really, I think actually you've played 4 pretty good, pretty solid teams, 2 really good teams. Unfortunately, they just happen to be in our conference. Mm-hmm. But there's still a chance for Metamora to be a really, really good football team.
Yeah, hopefully our, best football's ahead of us. You never want to be peaking week 2, week 3 of the season and stuff like that. Yep. And so we're going to keep working, keep building, for week 5, week 6, week 7, and so on. And right now it's all about week 5.
Week 5, and that's
so
Canton.
That's all we have to worry about is Canton and build and take that next step.
I remember your senior year, I believe you went over to Canton and played.
Yes, we did.
And that was back in the days when you'd go to Canton, and if you wanted to sit and you wanted to seat in their stands, you probably better get there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the latest.
Yeah.
Because Canton would bring their football teams we were maybe just a little better than them, but they still gave us a run for our money every week.
The one thing about Canton is they always got some big guys. They're always tough-nosed players. And they're always going to be physical and give it their all. And so we don't expect anything less this week. It's one of those games that, we should be chomping at the bit and, to get back out there to prove, that we have a lot more left in us and that we have a lot more room to grow.
I believe the big receiver for Canton back then was Adam Worley.
Yeah.
Was that?
Well, And they have a Worley this year as well, number 6. So.
Very good receiver. But yeah, I just remember, and then the other thing I remember about Canton was they had the student section was the graveyard after Steve Graves, and they always had those milk jugs with pennies in them, and made an annoying sound. That's why you had to take them out of the game early.
and that'll be key for us is try and get off to a fast start, get some momentum, get some of that confidence back. Play the way that we know that we can play.
And that's always key for any Metamore team is to get out of the gates early. If you can get out of the gates early, man, it just sets everything up for. I'm sure that's with every team, but it really seems to be important for Metamore.
Yeah, we want to try and get the opposing team on their heels, get a stop, or get a good drive going right off the start. Just seeing that success just breeds more success, and so it's always important to get off a good start, really, in anything.
You've got probably some of the fastest backfield running backs in the conference, both with Mark Fredericks and Jadon Cranford. I think up to this point, I think they both have played pretty darn well when you stop and think about everything that they've had to go up against. I think they've played pretty well, and they're still really, really young.
Yeah, and the thing is, you have Jadon, he's young. You have Mark, he's young. And we put more on their plates this year. We've asked them both to play defense, Mark a little bit more than Jadon, and they both accepted that role. And sometimes when they go to defense, sometimes they're not on offense as much as they'd like to be, or what we would like them to be. But Evan Kyle does a great job.
Another guy in that mix,
does a great job, and and he's a young guy. He didn't even play running back as a freshman. He was a tight end there, and so really this is his second year ever playing running back, and so he's only 4 games in to his varsity season playing, and so there's room to grow. As far as where the holes actually are, and not having to bounce too soon or bend it back too soon. So there's always room for growth there too.
Why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the player of the game.
Okay.
Central Illinois, you asked for it and we listened. Germantown Grille is growing to meet customer demand, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. And Germantown Grille still has all the food and spirits that keep our customers coming back. Stop by to check out our daily specials. The game's on at Germantown Grille, where Central Illinois loves to eat. Open 7 days a week, just off Route 116.
Welcome back to the Jared Grebner Show. Coach, the player of the game that we decided on for Friday night was Kedrick Shaffron. 2 touchdown receptions. I think he's all but one of his receptions in his varsity career have all been touchdowns except for one.
It's been pretty close.
And the one that he didn't get was up at LaSalle Prue that I think he got in on. So
he might have had another one up at LaSalle Prue too.
Oh,
he didn't get in,
yes.
coming across the middle.
Yes.
And so he has some intangibles that you just can't teach. You can't teach somebody to be 6'4" and
nice.
to be able to go up and with his long arms and go get some of those balls. And so he does some good things and presents a nice weapon on the perimeter for us.
Yeah, and he's been a nice threat. He's been a very good receiver for you. Now that you've got Connor Bidney back on the other side, and then eventually when you get your son back in the slot, that's a pretty solid receiving core for you.
And Nick's put some of those balls, up for Kendrick, only where Kendrick could catch them. And whether it's on the outside shoulder or whether he puts it in the air, where Kendrick can only go up and get him, because you just, like we said earlier, you just can't teach that size, and Kendrick has a knack for going up and catching those types of balls.
Yeah, he's very good at that. The other thing I want to kind of commend you on too is, Kendrick last year started out the year playing on the JV team, and he kept working hard, kept playing hard, and he got to the point where you gave him a shot at the varsity level, on Friday nights, and man, did he respond! And now he's a starter on the varsity. So, that really is important for those juniors that get to play down on Monday nights.
Yeah.
If they play well, it can kind of springboard them into a varsity spot.
Yeah, and you can use that kind of as a catapult. Last year he took advantage of some players that were unable to play due to injury and stuff like that, and so we asked him to step up in those situations. And having that game experience at the JV level allowed him to step up and fit right in. And so he was able to take advantage of that and learn as a junior from some of those game experiences. He had a nice touchdown catch for Pekin, I believe, as a junior.
Yep.
In the playoffs, he had one against Jacksonville off the top of my head. He's had some this year where he's been able to go up and get the ball on some of the deeper routes. And so, that's a luxury to have.
Yeah, it is. And now you got two guys that are kind of in the 6'2" to 6'4" range. And then you got the smaller one is probably the fastest guy of the three. That's going to be exciting once you get those guys all back and healthy.
Yeah.
But you got Canton this week.
Yep.
And like we talked about before, Canton can pose some problems. You just got to get back out and get some confidence, be able to flex your muscles, and pose your will a little bit. Give these kids some confidence again.
Yeah, for sure. Canton, they are going to be a threat. They had a couple good wide receivers. Those two were kind of banged up last week versus East Peoria. I don't know what the status of the two of them will be for this Friday night's game. And their offense can change a little bit based on whether those two receiving threats are out there. They're really good, run good routes, have good hands, and so those two definitely present a threat. But if they change their offense a little bit or their scheme because those two are out, they have some big boys up front as well, and so we're just going to have to match their physicality, play solid defense, execute on the defense side of the ball, and be gap sound.
Well, Coach, good luck Friday night.
Well, thank you very much.
That'll do it for the Jared Grebner Show. We'll see you Friday night in Canton.